Welcome to this mini lecture on motivational interviewing, focusing, evoking, and planning. So let's review the 4 processes of motivational interviewing. Excuse me. Engaging, focusing, evoking, and planning. And we have done a lot of engaging over the last few weeks where you have practiced your reflective listening skills, open-ended questions, empathy, authenticity. All those things you've been practicing are the engaging part. Now we're getting more into let's focus in on what it is that the client needs, engage them in conversations where we're evoking change talk, and moving into the planning session of how they are going to make that change. So what is focusing? Focusing is helping the clients find the direction in the conversation, kind of defining the goals and where we're going to go. You want to start with broad talk of a specific change target down into how are we going to get the steps that we are going to, how are we going to define the steps we're going to take to make the change happen. This is a collaborative process. And this is not directive. It's not us getting advice again. It's us eliciting information from them about what they think that they most likely want to change. What change feels the most important for you right now? Because a lot of times our clients come in with a lot of different ideas of what they want. You'll see this in the agenda mapping here shortly, but they come in and they want, they might need help with their relationship, with their depression, with help with their children, their stress, they're in school, they have all these other kind of things that are really important for them to change. But we want to help them focus in on what is the most important right now. You can think about somebody who comes in who has depression, who doesn't have transportation, they are socially isolated, they are unable to get to the grocery store. Where do you want to focus in? Do you want to focus in on the depression? Or do you want to focus in on case management and help them with transportation? Because if they have transportation, they will find social connection and they will get the food they need. The stress will be reduced and the depression will most likely go away on its own. But we have to kind of help them focus in on which is the most important thing to choose right now. So strategies for focusing, using the agenda continuum. Sometimes people know exactly what they need. I want help with X. Okay, we can start moving in on working on X. Other times, like I said, they come in with a whole bunch of different ideas of what's going on, what they're thinking, and they have all these different things going on in their life that they don't even know where to start. Others come in and they really don't know. They come in, they say, I really don't know. I just feel like I need some therapy, but I don't even know where I want to go with this. So helping them, orienting them to what they're talking about, what their concerns are, just walking with them until they can figure out where it is they would like to start. And letting them know that just because we start in one area doesn't mean that we can't move and focus on something else that is most important as it comes up. So part of offering or part of focusing is also offering permission, offering information with permission. Remember, we don't give advice. We offer information if they're interested in it. We give them the rationale behind them, why we want to provide information. I have posted a little video in the module of where you can see what that looks like in a role play. For other strategies are exploring the values and goals. And you have already done that in some of your practice sessions. But keep in mind as you're focusing, keep in mind the client's goals and their values so that you can bring that back to the focusing session. Remember when you said you had X, that this is really important to you, this is a value that you hold very highly. How does that fit with what's going on with you today and this goal that you're setting? So bringing the values in, helping them to focus on why they need to make the change. Using again, continue to use those reflections to highlight the direction that they want to go. And here's a picture of an agenda mapping. You have a client that comes in and says he has difficulty with his physical health, his job is suffering, he has diabetes, he's drinking, he's gained a lot of weight, his finances are, he's struggling with his finances, he's really struggling, he might even lose his housing because of his inability to hold a job, and he's smoking. Like, you look at that, where as a clinician would you want to start? Think about that for a moment, because your values are going to jump in here and you are going to say, well, if he stops smoking and drinking, his finances will improve, and he probably might not lose his job. And if he doesn't lose his job, he'll probably keep his housing. And if he stops smoking and drinking, then the weight will go down. So those are the rationale that you might make, but it's up to you to talk to your client about what his values are. What is the most important for him? And if he says physical health, that's where we start focusing in, because physical health draws a link to all the other ones in this agenda mapping too. These agenda maps are very, very helpful when you're meeting with clients and you're listening to their story instead of taking detailed little notes. You can create these little circles that as you hear them bringing up their concerns, and then you can show them the circles and say, hey, where do you think you want to start? Because they too, once they can see that the picture, they might see the connection that you drew when you first looked at the agenda map also. So evoking, what is that? Evoking is drawing their motivations and reasons for change out of our clients. We want them to start talking about change. We want to elicit the change talk, not the, oh, but I don't want to. We want to absolutely avoid with everything we have arguing with our client, because that is going to keep them arguing for staying the same. So we want to talk about why might you want to make this change, and then reflect to them, oh, this change is important to you because if you have better health, you'll be feeling better, where you might be able to start thinking about quitting the smoking and drinking and whatnot. But you want to ask them, why do they want to make the change, and have them keep talking about change. And if there is resistance, roll with it. Just make a statement. Yes, it sounds like that you are a little anxious about that. However, I also heard you say, so you go back and forth with that, reflection, a little bit more complex reflection, the double-sided, to say, I heard you say this, but I also heard you say this. So pulling out the talk that gets the client talking about change. So some strategies for evoking, asking the open-ended questions, and look for the themes of the darn, the desire, the ability, the reasons, and the need. Ask questions. Why would you want to make this change? How much you go about it if you were to succeed? What are some advantages of stopping the XYZ behaviors? And how important is it for you to make this change? So asking them those open-ended questions, reflectively listening to each of the answers, which then strengthens the change talk. Because if you ask them, why would you want to make this change? Well, it's important for me because then I will have a better relationship with my family. I will have better health. I will have whatever. You reflect back, oh, so this is important for you. And the desire for you to make this change is because you'll have a better relationship with your family. So reflecting back, because when you reflect, they continue talking about the change. You also can do exploring some pros and cons for them to be able to see what are the pros of change, what are the cons of change. So you kind of look forward and backwards. So do the dual thing. Well, before it was like this, and what do you think that the goal is going to look like? But this, when you were struggling with this, you were struggling in this area. But looking forward, this is really truly what you're hoping to have. Now, the ICR scales I have here is the importance, confidence, and readiness. I have posted a little video that covers the importance and confidence scales. So I'll let you watch that. The readiness is also part of the ICR scales. That wasn't covered in that little video. But asking the clients. So you say that physical health is really important for you. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all important, and 10 being extremely important, where are you on that scale? They say 6. Hey, that's pretty important. So why a 6? Why not a 5? A 4 or 5? Going down a number helps them think about change. If you ask them on a scale of 1 to 10 and they say, oh, I'm at 5, and you say, why not a 6? They're going to argue for sustained talk. And we want them to argue for change talk. The same with confidence. It's a scale where you, on 1 to 10, where 1 is not at all confident, 10 being super confident. And even if they come with at a 2, that's pretty, you have some confidence. So even if it's low, you still compliment them, affirm their choice that this, you do have some confidence. And here too, you go down a number. Because if I go on a scale of 1 to 10, I have confidence of 2. Well, tell me, why a 2? Why not a 1? Well, I have made changes in the past. I'm just a little scared. I'm going to ignore the scared part. You have been able to do some things in the past, so you do have some confidence that you're able to complete this goal. The readiness scale is when you have worked with them, they have decided, I'm going to make this change, and I'm going to start setting some goals and moving forward, asking them on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you for this? And they go, I am ready. Between a 1 and a 10, I'm probably at a 7. That is excellent. 7 is you are getting there and ready to go. So what is a tiny little step you can take to move yourself from a 7 to a 7.5? What is one thing you can do this week to move yourself towards your goal? My goal is exercise. What is one tiny little thing I can do? Well, I could wash my gym clothes. Okay. You're going to go to the gym, washing your gym clothes, that's an excellent thing. What is another tiny little step you can do to get yourself to reach your goal of actually making it to the gym and getting your exercise? I can have my gym bag with me when I go to work, so I can go directly from work to the gym. Excellent. So you have clean clothes, they're in the bag, they're in the car, you're ready to go to the gym. What is another tiny little step you can take to ensure that you actually get to the gym? I can set a reminder in my phone that when I am done at work, I need to go to the gym, not go straight home. Perfect. So this week, when you go home, what are the 3 things out of the 3 things that you have decided? What do you think you'll be most likely to do? Well, I think I can both wash the clothes and put it in there. I think I can do all 3. Okay, so how ready are you now to make this change? I have actually moved up the scale, and I am probably at a 9 or a 10. I am ready to make this. And when I go home tonight, I will wash the clothes and have them ready and set my alarms in my phone. So that's how those readiness, importance, and confidence scales work. The pros and cons matrix. The important thing about this pros and cons matrix is that you're going to go in a circular manner. You start with the pros of change, the pros of no change, and the cons of no change. I have it wrong up here, so just the pros and cons. So delete the change part up there, sorry. But you start with the pros of no change, the cons of no change, the cons of change, and the pros of change. So you have them end with what they really want to change. So, for example, here they want to quit smoking. What are the pros of not changing, staying the same? It helps me relax, helps me de-stress, it helps something to do with my friends and makes me feel part of a group. Kind of tastes good, satisfies a craving, blah, 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 blah. Normally they don't give you a whole bunch here, and I don't push for extra answers. When I go to the cons of no change, I'm out of breath, I cost a lot of money, my partner is worried about my health, I don't like the way I smell. I reflect back to them, oh, so you feel out of breath? It does cost a lot of money, and you feel like your partner is worried about your health, and they don't like the way you smell. So now they're hearing the reasons that they need to start changing. Now I move into the cons of change, because change is difficult. The ambivalence. You're looking at their ambivalence here. What are the pros of just staying the way I am? What are the cons of staying the way I am, making the change? So I move into the cons of change. Change is hard. I worry about my withdrawal symptoms. I might lose connection with my friends who smoke. I might fail since I have tried to quit before. And what will I do when I'm anxious? So I reflect back to them that it sounds like the idea of changing actually comes with a little bit of anxiety about losing connection and that you might fail because you've tried to quit smoking before. Now tell me a little bit more about the pros of change. And I want to elicit a lot of change talk. So when they say I'll have more energy, be able to play with my kids more easily, my partner will be more happy, I'll save a lot of money, I'll be able to prove myself that I can do it. Why else is it a good thing to make this change? Kind of push a little bit to make them come up with as many possible ideas that they have. And then you read them back, but you reflect them back. I do this in session where I'm the one writing in the pros and the cons. I'm writing in their words, then I can reflect back to them, but then I can also give them the matrix where they can look at their own words. If I have them write it down, they get distracted by focusing on the writing. So it's best that the clinician is the one filling in the blanks and helping the client to kind of see for themselves as they just reflect openly about their thoughts and they hear those thoughts reflected back to them. Ending them with change, the pros of change is the most important thing you can do. So again, just keep going, make sure you go in a circle, clockwise circle, asking about the pros, the cons of change and no change. So the last part of it is you have evoking, the focusing, and the planning. So moving from motivation to action. This is where that readiness scale comes in the planning process. So what is your next step? What tiny little step can you take to move yourself towards your goal? But they develop those concrete steps and you are there supporting their autonomy and their commitment. You also are there to help them reflect on barriers that might get in the way of their ideas. So once they say, this is what I'm going to do, what might get in the way? What is your next step? So I have a whole lecture on developing the SMART goals, exploring barriers, and looking at supports, but also evoking that commitment language, helping them to commit to what they want to do. So watch the mini lecture on strategies for the planning and setting goals. And then takeaways, focusing, finding direction, evoking, drawing out their motivation, planning is supporting their action. This is without giving advice unless we ask them if they want that advice, then we can ask for that and we can provide it to them, but only if it is something that they're eliciting or they would like, or you feel that they really need some kind of psychoeducation. Ask them what they know, ask them then again if they're willing to listen to you. And that was the end of this video, and I will see you next week.